Today we're working on a 6.0 Chevy pickup, 99 to 2006, 2500. From the factory, GM had them dual in, single out in the back. This is probably the worst muffler ever built. We'll cut it apart at the end to show you, but I'm going to show you where to start on these trucks because they're a little different than most of them. We're going to actually measure from the case, from the stock exhaust system, forward 6 inches, and we're going to make a mark on both of our head pipes. And this is where we're going to sawzall our muffler off. We're going to cut it here, and then we're going to install our pulse chamber, and it's a trick one. We're going to install our pulse chamber, but these dimensions here, 6 inches off the factory muffler to here, sawzall it. Be careful on these trucks because there's an O2 sensor. You don't want to whittle on way up because there's an O2. This is where O2 sensor for bank 2. And once we cut it here, put our pulse chamber in, we'll put our duals, and we'll go back to our 2 factory measurements. So we're set our pulse chamber. The factory head pipes are 2 3/4 inch. We're going to 2.5 inch true duals. So they slide right inside, makes an easy weld joint. But before I did all that, so before I spotted any of that, I took and put my tape on the rear end, brought it up right on 33.5 inches. So that sets our pulse chamber. So when we set our 2 mufflers, we have another dimension, 19.5 from the rear end housing to the case. We'll do that in just a moment. But there's nothing trick here. Just slip it inside, start welding, get it all spotted, level, straight in the chassis, make sure it's parallel with the drive line. But here's an interesting fact. All these 6.0 liters, they start out with manifold 2.5 inch. Then they jumped down here, and then GM went to 2 3/4 inch dual through the caps. But that's why we put the pulse chamber in it, so we don't get that wall in the cab. We're going to eliminate all that with the pulse. We've set our mufflers up in position. We're going to double check our length from the rear end housing to the muffler case, to the edge of the case is 19.5 inches, just like the instructions say. And then I always set them up here, and I've already spot welded them. And then another thing I always do is weld the mufflers on each end of the cases so no debris gets down in between them or rattles. The right hand tailpipe is all one piece. I make it a little longer on the tip so you can put your chrome tip on, your black tip on it, get it where you like it, mark it, cut off the excess. And I've already done that on this right hand tailpipe. So we're going to slip it back up in position. It's all one piece. And it just simply goes up and over into the muffler, and then we're going to stand it and make sure we're going to get it nice and level before I spot it. Always when you're doing this, double check your shock clearance, make sure you have enough clearance on your shock absorber. I use just a simple level, make sure I get it nice and level on everything. And we're running uphill. Right there on the money. We want to make sure our tip height, I'm going to come down a little bit because we have the big chrome tips. Come down. I want to make sure my tailpipe's nice and level on the bottom. And make sure it's nice and level there. Now I'm going to spot it up. In some instances it's nice to put a spacer up between the shock because everything's still flexible, moving around. Now we're going to put it inside the second side, which is left. In this, I use 2 pieces. Everybody says, why do you 2 pieces? Well, if you have it all one piece, you can't get it in a box and you can't get it in the truck. So we're just slip it up over the rear end housing, slide it in the muffler. Then we're going to take our second tire, whether it's a behind tire or under bumper. We're going to slip it up in this axle pipe, and we're going to get it pointed right direction. And this is where we're going to do some measurement. Here's a helpful little hint. This tailpipe looks like it can go either direction, which it can, but we bend all of our kits so the seam is always pointed to the bottom of the tailpipe. So if you point it up and it's pointed out the back, whoopsie, wrong way, we'll flip it around. And this is where we leave you a little adjustment. So we can put it up in position and we can do our measurements, get it exactly the same, and then trim it off for a tip like we did side A. We're finished welding everything up. Put our 07 hanger up here on the chassis. We provide a bolt. You can drill a 1/4 inch hole. I cheated, I welded it on. And you always got to remember, whatever you're welding on, make sure you're grounded to that part. So I'm welding on the exhaust system. I'm grounded to the stand, so it has the ground. When I welded this little hanger on, I grounded to this hanger and welded to the chassis, but we provide a bolt so you can bolt it. Then this is the 07 hanger. Then these are called 09 updates because we put it on a double shear. And I give you one for both tailpipes. That way they'll never break. The factory hangers under this truck, we reutilized them all. So this is factory hanger for the mufflers. That's the factory hanger for the factory tailpipe. And we're gonna reuse the factory hanger up front. And I even cheated a little bit. I put a spacer up between my shock and my tailpipe. So when I was welding hangers, it didn't wobble. Make sure I kept my gap. You always want to double check, make sure you have plenty of clearance. We have 4 fingers loose. We got way more than that above. So now the only thing I have left is check my welds and put my front hanger on. So I use a mirror and a light. Just go ahead and double check all my welds. I got a little skip right there. This side looks good. Double check all your welds on top. And then I'll clean it up. I'm gonna go paint it silver. Touch up my hangers in the back and we'll be complete. This is the muffler up that 6.0 gas powered Chevy truck. From the factory 99 through 06 and a half. They came in factory 2 3/4 inches. Blowing the case, they reduced that all the way down to less than 2 inches. 1 3/4, 1 7/8. Blows in here, pressures up the resonating chamber. They had a tube right in the middle of the case of the muffler, transfers it back to the fronts, back around, comes out to the tailpipe. And this transfer tube in this muffler is just a tick under 2 inches. So you go from duals on the front, pressure it all up through a little 2-inch pipe, back around, and it comes out to the tailpipe 2 3/4 inches. Highly restrictive, 99 to 06. There is no perfect muffler either. Everybody says, oh, everything's got to be stainless. Well, here's a stainless steel muffler. Looks like it's been welded up once or twice, but it's all broke out again. Stainless steel, fatigues and cracks.